Dear Hoot, hello, I'm going to Emerald Isles all alone with almost no money, no film crew, no makeup with friends except for the one I met. Just myself exploring its ancient castles, historical sites, breathtaking natural sceneries, as well lots of free museums, botanical gardens, and art galleries. As well, getting locked up for good in the largest prison in the world, and biking around the national park to discover lots of hidden gems, and getting wet. We'll also head up north to learn about Northern Ireland's history and discover many of its free attractions, its one and only UNESCO World Heritage Site, and rediscover the birthplace of Titanic. Not to mention lots of good food and getting around without breaking the bank. All done safely, inexpensively, and easily. Anything I can do, you can do. DIY destinations, Ireland and Emerald Isles, and you are invited. We are so fortunate to live in a small world with so many cultures, so much beauty, and so much diversity. The world waits for no one, and it's up to each of us to discover its magnificent destinations. I want to make travel accessible to all of us by showing how it can be done safely and inexpensively.
I'd be hoping to get in here, but by the looks of things.
Located in the North Atlantic and separated from the Great Britain to its east by the Irish Sea, the island of Ireland is the 12th largest on Earth and consists of Republic of Ireland covering the 6th of the area, with the remaining being the Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom. First settled by humans around 10,000 years ago, with its current Irish Celtic language developed with the arrival of Iron Age warriors from the mainland Europe. Ireland is a land with rich and diverse cultures. Throughout its history, its people has overcome countless challenges, from the Great Famine to the War of Independence to the Civil War. Today, this island has a combined population of 7 million and one of the wealthiest GDP in the world. That's why I'm here, to take in its history, the sight and sound of the colorful culture, and most importantly, the warm welcome of the Irish people, and to witness the strong resilience to conquering the challenge of its past, present, and the future. So we just landed here in Dublin Airport, and welcome to Ireland, everyone. Our journey has just begun. We'll start our journey from the most popular entry point for the international visitors, the Dublin Airport. There's also ferries available from Isle of Man, United Kingdom, and France. If you're from the European Union or from a major industrialized country, including the good old USA, Canada, Australia, and most of South America, good news, you can get it visa-free with a nice Irish smile. This is really not cool because Air Canada lost my luggage. Oh my god. Despite not having my essential supply inventory of underwears, life goes on, and I can only hope for the best. If I need to buy these, definitely some cold hard cash is needed, the euro. The best way to grab some of these bling bling is the airport ATM. Most do not have a surcharge. You'll need some cash to get down to city center as well. The cheapest is the public buses, taking about 40 minutes to an hour, available at Terminal 1. Every 10 minutes during the rush hour and 30 minutes off peak. You don't need exact change for the fare. There's also express shuttles and private coaches every 15 minutes from 5 a.m. to midnight. Dublin is the capital of Ireland, established by the indigenous Gael population around 7th century AD, and a historical and temporary center for education, the arts, administration, and industry. Today, the city has a ranking on Alpha, which places it among the top 30 cities in the world with a population of 2 million in its metropolitan area, and also home to the famous Guinness beer. So let's get going and meet some Irish friends for a nice drink. There's a lot of ways to get around the city center. The best way is on foot. It's free. We then start our exploration on O'Connell Street, Dublin's main thoroughfare. The street was widened in the late 1700s and renamed the Sackville Street until 1924, when it was renamed again in honor of Daniel O'Connell, a nationalist leader of the early 19th century. So we'll start our journey right here at the very city center of Dublin. Right behind me is the Spire of Dublin. It's a 120-meter spire that was commissioned in 1999 and completed in 2003. Now, the number one criticism about this structure is the fact that it's just a simple beam. It has absolutely no architectural connection to the city of Dublin. But it does look pretty interesting, so let's go and check it out. The bombing of the Nelson Pillar in 1966 left a gaping hole in O'Connell Street in the heart of the Dublin city centre. The pillar needed replacing, and the early proposal in the 1970s argued for erection of a monument of Irish revolutionary and Easter Ring Rising leader. The monument was commissioned as a part of the street layout redesign in 1999 after an international competition was launched. The first section was installed on 18th of September 2002 and consists of 8 hollow stainless steel comb sections, the longest being 20 meters, which was installed on 21st of January 2003. The spire reached a total cost of 4 million euros, standing at an incredible 120 meters high, and without a doubt, the tallest structure in Dublin city centre, with a 3-meter wide base acting as the spire's foundation. The head of the spire is 15 centimeters wide and is lit by a small amount of LED. Despite what was originally believed, the spire is not self-cleaning and has to be cleaned every 18 months. The cleaning costs around 120 euros. 120,000 euros. That's a lot of burgers and fries. But thank goodness, a nice postcard with the postage doesn't cost 120,000 euros. You can get it right across at the General Post Office. This is one of Ireland's most famous buildings, not least because it served as the headquarters of the leader of the Easter Rising. As a result, the building was destroyed by fire in course of the rebellion and not rebuilt until 1929 by the Irish Free State government. It was one of the last great Georgian public buildings erected in the capital. The foundation stone of the building, which was designed by Francis Johnston, was laid by the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland on 12th of August 1814. For those of you who think you're smart, the perfect place to pick up a postgraduate degree is Trinity College Dublin. This is one of the 7 ancient universities of Britain and Ireland, and Ireland's oldest and most prestigious surviving university. Getting in here, it's tough, but I hope picking up hot chicks here is a little easier, since according to my research, women were admitted to Trinity College as full members since 1904. First established outside the wall of Dublin, in part to consolidate the rule of Tudor monarchy in Ireland. As a result, the university was a Protestant ascendancy for much of its history, but professorship, fellowship, and scholarship were reserved for Protestants until the restriction was lifted by the Act of Parliament in 1873. Today, Trinity College is the only Irish university in the League of European Research Universities and routinely ranked as one of the top 100 universities in the world. Being a student means you're always going to be hungry and definitely need some sugar to hit the books. Not surprisingly, a quick bite on a budget sounds just fine to me. €3 cheap eats for our pizza or €5 for an Indian food combo, but I'd settle for something healthier. Maybe not. Now, Ireland is one of the more expensive places here in the EU, but what you can save money on food is go to Tesco and get one of their meal deals. They are €4 to get a sandwich, a snack, and of course, orange juice, vitamin C. That being said, let's eat. After refueling, I headed over to the Leinster House, Ireland's parliament. I got a lot of energy for a political bloodbath, and sadly, it's closed to foreigners. But don't worry, there's a similar looking building next door that is a little bit more open. I mean, a lot more open, even to Asian kids like me, and it's free. So welcome to the National Gallery of Ireland and get ready to see lots of naked statue. Okay, just joking. The National Gallery of Ireland was founded in 1854 and it has the most extensive collection of representative of Irish arts, paintings in particular. And its most notably is the Dutch masters and Italian baroques. When the gallery opened, it only had 112 paintings, but today it boasts over 2,500 and approximately 10,000 other works in different media, including watercolors, drawings, prints, and sculptures. Every major European school of paintings is extensively represented. It is also housed a renowned collection of Irish paintings, the majority of which are on permanent display, including one of the most rare and famous Caravaggio 1602 paintings, The Taking of Christ, depicting the arrest of Jesus during the Judas identifying Christ with a kiss when the guard moved in for the arrest. So the painting behind me is the most famous painting here in the gallery, and it was missing for 200 years. The recent Millennium Wing was opened in 2002, and unlike previous two extensions, this new wing has a street frontage and considered modern. In line with the Brutalist style, the interior concrete walls are still unsealed, maintaining a quite modern look to the wing. For those of you who are interested in the evolution or wanting to find out why some guys' brains are not so developed, like US President Donald Trump, good news, the Dead Zoo is around the corner. By the way, that's a nickname for the National History branch of the National Museum of Ireland. Now, the Natural History Museum here in Dublin is also referred to as the Dead Museum. It's also the museum of the museums, considered by many, because it contains over 10,000 specimens from all over the globe. Now, even though this museum was built in 1856, its root can be traced back to 1786. The museum was built in 1856 for the part of the collection of the Loyal Dublin Society, and the building and the collection was later transferred to the state. In 1792, the Society purchased the collection of Nathaniel Godfrey Listic, one of Europe's largest natural history collections. The collection had expanded continuously since its establishment. Today, the Natural History Collection comprises over 2 million items in the field of zoology and geology, and 1 million of specimens being insects. There's also previously a botanical collection, but this was transferred over to the National Botanic Garden in the 1970s. The museum building is a cabin style, designed to showcase wide-ranging and comprehensive zoological collection, and has changed little over the century. The ground floor contains mammals from all over the world, including extinct or endangered species. And the same floor also includes an Irish room, which includes a display of Irish animals, notably silver-mounted skeleton of giant Irish deers. Hopefully, I won't end up being a showpiece here anytime soon. Another important museum is located in the adjacent building, the home of the archaeological branch of the National Museum of Ireland. This is a must-go place for those of you who are interested in learning about the history of Ireland. Many important artifacts from the museum were named in Irish Times Ireland's 100 most important historical objects. The Museum of Archaeology covers both Irish and other antiquities. Now, in general, it focuses mainly on Stone Ages up to the Middle Ages. The museum also features display on prehistoric Ireland, including Bronze Age work in gold, as well as early medieval church treasure of Celtic art and Viking Ireland. There are special display of items from ancient Egypt, Cyprus, and the Roman world, and special exhibitions are regularly mounted. If you want some ideas for your next wedding ring, you'll find out the central area of the museum, which contains one of the finest collection of Bronze Age gold objects in Europe. The gold work range in dates between 220 BC to 500 BC, most of them being jewelry, but with many objects being possibly used for ritual functions. If you have enough of museums, don't worry, you can always get a fresh breath of air with lots and lots of greens free. The best of all, you won't need to walk that far at the Merrion Square Park. Now the square here was first laid out in 1762 and was largely completed by the early 19th centuries. And this is actually one of the finest surviving squares here in the city of Dublin, and it's very historic because it's right in front of the government house and surrounded with the National Gallery and the National Museum. The square was laid out after 1762 and was largely completed in the beginning of 19th century. The plan of the park included a double line of trees around the perimeters, which is later enclosed by a railing. Up until 1960s, the park was only open to the resident in possession of a private key. The square is also home to the National Memorial and the Centennial Flame to honor the member of the Defense Forces who died in service of the state.
That makes sense.
No worries. Less than 500 meters away is home to another historical park dating back to 1880s when the Lord Arden publicly opened the 22-acre space for the citizens of Dublin. The St. Stephen's Green has been maintained in its original Victorian layout with 750 trees along with 3.5 kilometers of accessible pathways, 15 commemorative sculptures located throughout the park, Victorian Swiss shelters in case you need to shelter from the rain, and a waterfall. There's even free lunchtime concerts during the summer month, that is. By the way, there is also a children's playground, so have lots of children and bring them here. Once again, it's free. For places that's further away, you can grab a visitor's transit pass for unlimited travel on Dublin's public transportation for 1, 3, or 7 days. These cards are sold at the visitor center around the city. I decided to end my day in a colorful way with a short ride on a bus. I heard this place I can pick up some deals on flowers to impress the beautiful Irish ladies. So I'm heading off to Botanic Gardens next. And I want to make the most of the day pass I bought here. That being said, let's hope the weather really clears out because I have enough of it. With that being said, have a smooth ride. The National Botanic Gardens is actually only 5 kilometers away from the city center here in Dublin. Everything you see right here used to belong to a poet, Thomas Tickell, which owns a house and estate. It was later in 1795 sold to the Irish Parliament, which was given over to the Loyal Dublin Society. Now, what's so impressive about this garden is it hosts over 20,000 living plants as well as millions of dry specimens. The Botanical Garden is Ireland's 7th most visited attraction. There are several architectural noble greenhouses that goes on forever and forever. Now I got to say, I never seen so many cactus in my life. After all, this is the cactus house. Oh, maybe not. Bad idea. Now, honestly, I have to admit, I'm actually pretty impressed with the collection here, and like, it just go room after room after room of different kind of plants they have here. And honestly, I just can't believe it's free, actually, this attraction. So honestly, it got to be on your to-do list. The Botanical Garden also home to the National Herbarium and serve as a facility for horticulture research and training, including breeding of many prize orchards. That is pretty much all I'm going to tell you. But if you really want to dig deep, there's a free walking guide tour on Sundays. A small fee is charged for a guided tour on the weekdays.
I'm not sure about driving on the other side of the road.
Next morning, my Irish friend and fashion designer Emily Dawson wanted to take me somewhere really cool. She picked me up and we headed towards a Phoenix Park, also named after my own fashion designer Phoenix Park. Okay, just joking. Honestly, both of them are really amazing and cool, and both have shown their collections at the New York Fashion Week. I'm going to break here and thank Phoenix for giving me the privilege to produce her official New York Fashion Week The Show for Spring-Summer 2020 collection. And if you're wondering who this beautiful model is, that's Caitlin Lawrence. Her dream is to walk the official New York Fashion Week runway, and here she is at Pier 59. Congratulations, Kate, and love you so much, baby girl. But let's get back to talking up the Phoenix. Phoenix Park. So this is a Phoenix Park. It's actually the largest enclosed public park in any of the European capitals. And it started in 1660 as a royal hunting ground, and by 1747 it was opened to a public as a park. And if you are lucky, you get close to these lovely deers. Hello! The Phoenix Park is located 4 kilometers away from the city center and north of Liffey River. The history can be traced back to the 12th century when the first Baron of Castle Rock granted a large area of land, including what is now comprised of the Phoenix Park, to the Knight Hospitaller. The Knight lost their land in 1537 following a dissolution of the monastery under Henry VIII of London. Then comes to me, the Majesty, the Charles, just joking. The restoration of Charles II of England. He granted the Duke of Ormond to establish a royal hunting park on the land in 1662 and opened to the public in 1747. Also within the park is a bastion, a magazine for those of you who want to try out some target practice. The fort was occupied by the British Armed Forces until 1922 when it was turned over to the Irish Defence Forces. The Irish Army continued to operate the site as an ammunition storage throughout the mid-20th centuries until it was fully demilitarized by the 1980s. Next, we'd head off to one of the most important archaeological sites in Ireland. To save time, Emily drove me here, but it's easily accessible by public bus 109 operated by the Ireland's national bus service, the Bus Éireann. The Herald Tara is an ancient ceremonial and burial site, and it consists of numerous monuments and earthwork from the Neolithic to the Iron Ages. And this is probably the most interesting stone in the entire country. This stone is called Lea Fall, and according to the legend, this site is actually the coronation site for all the High King of Ireland. And according to the myth, all the kings up to 500 AD are coronated right here. The remains of 20 ancient monuments are visible, and at least 3 times that many have been found through geophysical surveys and aerial photography. The oldest visible monument is called the Mount of the Hostages, a Neolithic passage tomb built around 3200 BC and holds the remains of the hundreds of people, most of which are cremated bones. In the Neolithic period, it was a communal tomb of a single community for about a century, during which there was almost 300 burials. Almost a millennium later, in the Bronze Age, there were further 33 burials, first in the passage and then in the mount around it. During this time, only certain high-status individuals were buried there. At first, it was tomb of one community, but later, multiple communities came together to bury their elite there. The last burial was a full-body burial of a young man of high status, with an ornate necklace and dagger. About 30 kilometers away is another important prehistoric monument and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Newgrange. Sadly, there is no direct bus from Tara Hills. There is a bus errand route 163 running between Daggerad bus stations and the visitor center. Only 2 services per day, and do not run on Sundays except for during the month of July and August, so make sure to check the latest bus schedule before departing, or else get ready for a long hike home. Yikes. Newgrange is one of the 3 principal tombs of the Boyne Valley located at the Meath County. The structure is a grand passage tomb built during the Neolithic period around 3200 BC, making it older than Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramid. The site consists of a large circular mound with an interior stone passageway and chambers. The human bones and possibly grave goods or Volette offering were found in these chambers. The mound has a retaining wall at the front, made mostly of white quartz cobblestones, and is ringed by engraved curbstone. Many of the larger stones of Newgrange are covered in megalithic art. The mound is also ringed by a stone circle. Another one of the 3 principal tombs in Boyne Valley is Doubt. This one is free, but there is no bus to get here. Unlike Newgrange, Doubt has not been independently dated, but is feature aligned with other passage tombs which dated between approximately 3200 BC to 2900 BC. So this is Doubt, and it's one of the 3 mounts here in Boyne. Even though it's less well known than other mounts like Newgrange, it's built 5,000 years ago and it's pretty much the same size. It hasn't been fully excavated yet, so maybe you can come and take a look and excavate it yourself. Dowd shares a special solar celebration with its neighbor Newgrange during the winter solstice. However, it is less developed as a tourist attraction than its neighbors, partly because the chamber is much lower, and partly because the decoration is less visible. It was partly excavated in 1847 by the Royal Irish Academy, who dynamited the roof, causing the still visible crater, though it was pillaged by the Vikings and earlier looters long before that. Good morning, everyone. Sadly, my time in Dublin has come to an end, so it's time for me to show you the art of bus travel 101 in Ireland. I promise. It's gonna be on a budget. Alright, finally it's time to say goodbye to Dublin, and we are heading off to Cork by the bus. And here's a bus station. It's really close to the city center. It's roughly about 5 to 10 minutes walk. And but I got surprised we were and stopped somewhere along the way. Where? You have to wait and find out. Let's get going. First lesson. It's not smart to buy individual tickets since they typically cost about €20 for most destinations, each direction. I recommend you grab an open road pass for unlimited travel on set number of days among within a time period. Since the national bus operator Bus Éireann operate both intercity and local buses, except for Dublin, it's absolutely a bargain. I'll be hopping on a frequent bus X8 towards Cork. The bus is pretty comfortable and clean, and most have a display giving an estimated time to the different stops. And no, you don't need to bring any diapers since there is a rest stop every 2 hours. Most stop also sells quick bites and drinks. But we have arrived at our destination, so welcome to Cashel. Cashel is a really cute town in Tipperary County with only a population of 5,000 gentle souls and still unspoiled by tourism, and is a really good example of a real Irish town. So finally we arrived here at Cashel, and the bus stop is literally right across from the tourist information office, and that is the first place you should visit because it is where you can briefly drop off your luggage free of charge. They did warn me they're not responsible for losses, but I'm pretty sure everything will be just fine. There's also, you can pick up some tourist maps and brochures, but I don't want to waste any time. With that being said, let's go and check out what the Rock has to offer. The town name means Stone Right Fort, referring to the town's most famous attraction, the Rock of Cashel. A spectacular archaeological site consists of a medieval complex on a hilltop overlooking the town. Now, if you want to visit the magnificent architecture and want to support the local economy, you can kill two birds with one stone by spending €15 at many of the local business, and your admission will be free. Sweet. So there's a little bit of a hike, but it's not that bad. And looks like we have reached the Rock of Cashel. The Rock of Cashel was a traditional seat of the King of Kingdom of Munster for many hundreds of years prior to the invasion of Ireland by the Anglo-Norman took place in the late 12th century. The entire plateau on which the building and the graveyard lie on is walled, and in the ground around the building has an extensive graveyard including a number of high crosses. The Rock of Cashel is definitely the most undoubtedly famous castle here in Ireland. It's also known as St. Patrick's Rock or King of Cashels. Now, according to a local legend, this rock actually originated 30 kilometers away from Cashel, called Devil's Bite. When St. Patrick's banished the Satan from a cave, it landed right here. So today is called the Rock of Cashel. Do I believe in this legend? I'm not too sure, but I do know I want to check this out. It is absolutely gorgeous. The fortress was donated to the church in 1101 by King Mayor Charles O'Brien. Sadly, few remnants of the early structure survived. The majority of the building on the current site was dated from 12th to the 13th century, the oldest being 28 meters high round tower restored in 1874 to 1875. The structure was constructed using the dry stone method and made from coarse sandstone with limestone in the lower section. The largest structure is a cathedral, a large cruciform Gothic church without aisles built between 1235 to 1270. The cathedral witnessed many bloodsheds and violence throughout the ages. In 1491, Gerard Moore Fitzgerald torched it, and it was the cathedral that townsfolk sought refuge from mirage of burnings in 1647. The cathedral's choir is a final resting place of Archbishop Miller McGrath, known to the history as Scoundrel of Cashel, for having switched from Catholicism to Protestantism. Another important structure is Cormac's Chapel, named after King Cormac MacCarthy, who commissioned it. It is one of the earliest and the best preserved example of early Irish Romantic architectures. The construction began in 1127 and was consecrated in 1134. The exterior was decorated with round arches and chevron designs, and a steep pitched roof is typical of the 12th century Irish styles. Placed at the western wall of the nave is a 12th century sarcophagus into the body of Tag MacCarthy, the brother of McCormick, which is supposed to be placed. The front panel of the tomb is partially damaged, but its intricate carving are in good state of preservation. Carving predicts a beast intertwined with a Scandinavian urn style, and the form is created by the creature that is said to represent the concept of the eternal life. Unless you're coming here to pick up some lovely Irish ladies, you probably only need a couple of hours or half a day. But that's not in my plan. Oh, don't forget to pick up your luggage at the Tourist Information Center. They close around 5:30, so don't be late. Back on the bus where I got my tickets, and we are heading off to the next stop, Cork. So we have arrived in Cork. on time, surprisingly. And so first thing I'm going to do is head over to the hotel or hostel, whichever that's booked, and see what this city has to offer. With that being said, let's get going. The city of Cork is located in the southwest of Ireland and in the province of Munster. Its long history dates back to the founding of a monastery on the south bank of Lee River approximately 1400 years ago by the patron saint of Cork, Saint Finbar. Over time, settlement have grown around this monastery and was expanded by Viking invader around 915. Its charter was granted by Prince John in 1185. Today, Cork is the second largest city in the country and third largest in the island with a population of 220,000. The city center is small and easily accessible on foot. Your open road pass is also valid on all local buses here. A fun way to get around is with one of these Coca-Cola Zero bikes. No, I'm not joking. Those shared bikes are sponsored by Coke. I recommend you stay nearby. That is where my accommodation sponsor Kinsley House Shannon is located. So I'd like to take a moment to thank them for providing me with a very comfortable accommodations. They offer both dorm beds and private rooms, a well-equipped common area, outdoor patio, free basic breakfast, as well friendly staff. Thanks guys. My first stop is to confess my sins at the Church of St. Anne's, Sheldon, but I arrived a little too late. But nonetheless, I get to enjoy the exterior. The church tower is the most visible landmark and the symbol of the city, built between 1722 to 1726. The Church of St. Anne's is one of the most important early 18th century churches in Ireland. The name Sheldon comes from the Irish meaning Old Fort, referring to a medieval church dedicated to St. Mary's, existed close to our current location. The original church was mentioned in the Decretal of Pope Innocent III in 1199 as a Mary on the Mountain. The church stood until the Whitmere War when it was destroyed during the siege of the Cork in 1690. In 1693, another church was commissioned, also dedicated to St. Mary's, located on the bottom of the Meadow Lane on the modern-day Shelton Street. Due to the population growth, it was decided to build anew on this ancient site, and so in 1722 the present Church of St. Anne's, Sheldon was constructed. I ended my day with a walk in the Cork's compact city center. During the day is a busy shopping district with mainstream boutique and the 18th century indoor English market for the organic cheese and meat. But at night, Now, if you wonder how come I don't do much at night here in Ireland, it's because everything closed down really early in this country. In fact, most of the stores closed down around 5:30, unlike back in the good old USA, which is 24 hours. The only activity I can think of is drinking. There's really not much to do at night, so everyone drinks and drinks a lot. Next morning, I took a quick bus ride to Cork's railway station. From there, I bought a train ticket for Cobh for €6. You can also use your open road pass to take the bus there, but given the fact I'm seeking new experience to save time and risk of traffic jams, I decided to spend a little bit more to sit back and enjoy the ride and enjoy the scenery, including the price of your ticket. With that being said, we have arrived at Cobh train station, and welcome to Cobh. Oh, I forgot to welcome you to Cobb's Heritage Center, or Queenstown Experience, located right beside the station. The center serves as a cafe for cruise ship visitors, but also a museum with free and paid exhibition of Irish history, with focus on 18th and the 19th centuries, covering mass immigrations, the Great Famine, Alpino transportation to Australia, and our sinking of RMS Lusitania, as well as an exhibition on the history of RMS Titanic, whose last port of call before it sank was Cobh, then Queenstown. On the subject of penal transportation, I'm going to experience it firsthand. Just blocks away nearby piers, you'll see all the crazy people like myself eagerly await their ride across the shore to the Spike Islands, or formerly the world's largest prison. Although I'm a good swimmer, I don't think I can survive swimming across with all these professional camera equipments. So this is actually where you line up to get the tickets to get over to the Spike Island. I don't think it's actually that far away. The ticket itself is basically 20 euros. Not cheap, but if you bring your student card, you get a discount of 3 euros, so 17.50. But that being said, let's hope this will be as fast and smooth. So we are on our way over to the island right now, so on this ferry. And one thing about it is, I like it is like, the water is really calm. Right beside the most ugliest cruise ship I've ever seen. But thank goodness I'm not on, or else I'll be complaining. With that being said, I think we're approaching at this moment. The total size of the Spike Island is 103 acres and formerly the site of a monastic settlement. The island's strategic location within the harbor meant it was used at times for defense as well as a prison, the largest in the British Empire to be exact, and gaining a reputation as Ireland's Alcatraz. However, since the early 21st century, the island had been developed into a heritage tourist attraction. With those who needed a mobile assistance, there is a free shuttle to and from different points on the island. I decided to take on the offer given how heavy my filming gear is, and the first stop is the prisoner's graveyard. Sadly, this is actually one of the mass graves, and how it become a mass grave is during the Victorian era, there's just way too many people dying, so they had to take out all the headstones and start piling the bodies in here. Today, a lot of the bodies being exhumed and perhaps give a proper burial. The reason there were so many people dying is because of the mass famine and compounded by cholera and other Victorian diseases. The island's recorded history goes back 1300 years, beginning with the 7th century when St. Mohuda founded the monastery on the island. The monks occupied it for more than 300 years until the Vikings sailed into Cork Harbour. In 1779, the work began on a fortress, and this will become the impressive 24-acre Fort Mitchell, which crowned the islands today. Able to garrison 3,000 men, and with guns that could fire shells 12 miles. The fort was so important that Winston Churchill called Spike Island the Sentinel Tower of the defense of the Western Europe. Look like I'm the only bad boy here in this entire island. The maximum security prison. Oh gosh, I can be so lonely. If you guys want to rescue me, there's a helicopter pad right here, and I'm ready to be out here at any given time when there's a... See you soon. The island's prison was opened in 1847 to deal with a growing number of convictions for theft during the Great Famine, and maintained in use as a garrison and prison throughout the Irish War of Independence, when the IRA prisoners were held here. One of the museums showcased independent exhibits, showcasing 700 years of British occupation and many failed uprisings to successful path to its freedom, focusing on the periods of 1914 to 1938. Through the eyes of Spike Island. Over 1,400 Irish War of Independence prisoners were held here on island's huge internment camps at its peak until the signing of Anglo-Irish Treaty. Many of men would simply live off the street and in prison without a fair trial.
You are hereby sentenced to a term internment.
Propped up in a chair or shot in that condition.
Before the Victorian times, there was no distinction between the age group when it comes to crime and punishment. There was 100 children who were held in very harsh conditions, and were specially designated children's dormitory in the 19th century. The punishment block's the only purpose-built cell block in the fort. It was built in response to the murder of Warner William Ready in 1856. The block consists of 28 solitary confinement cells and housed a penal class, considered to be the most dangerous prisoners. They were heavily chained and clothed in black head to toe, with a veil hiding all but their eyes. The cell was furnished only with a stool, and convicts slept on the floor. There were several suicide attempts, and the block was the main reason that Spike Island was described as hell on earth by the penal class. Another one of the exhibits is a gun part, showcasing the coastal defense spanning over 300 years of warfare. It includes some of Spike Island's oldest artillery pieces dating from the late 1700s. As well, the searchlight previously used around the harbor that could illuminate targets up to 3,700 meters in distance. There are also many military service vehicles, such as Laylaw retriever lorries, served for the Irish Army from 1940 to 1970s, anti-aircraft guns, many with radars, and as well, tanks. Lots of them. As well, good luck and have fun on your bird hunting practice. Now, at the height of the British Empire, Cork Harbour is actually a very important British naval base. It's actually a very important vehicle assembly line, and as well as a supply center. Now, during the First World War, Spike Island was actually the home to the headquarters to the South Irish Coastal Defence. So following the handover to the Irish government in 1938, it became a very, once again, important Irish army base. Now, I'm coming to the end of the visit here. I have to say one thing. Make sure you bring proper walking shoes, because honestly, you will be walking quite a bit here. And it's really big, and they say recommended hour 3.5 hours, and yes, it will take up that much of the time, but it's a very pleasant visit. With that being said, just head back down to the harbor and get across and see what else is going on the other side.
They're nearby. Actually, the best bet is to ask them.
After serving my sentence, I was released back to mainland Cobh. I'm determined to be a better person and a reborn Catholic, so on top of my list is paying a church a visit. That's not going to be difficult since there's a mighty iconic church up the hill overlooking Cobh, the St. Colman's Cathedral, the home to Diocese of Clay. The cathedral is an exquisite gem of neo-Gothic architecture and took 47 years to build, starting in 1868 until its completion in 1911, and has been part of the Cobh skyline ever since. The cathedral was named after the patron saint of the diocese, St. Colman's Mark Lennon, and was inspired by the great cathedral of medieval France such as Chartres and Miem. Most notable is 100-meter high spires and a tower that includes 42 bell carillons, one of the largest in Europe. Today, the St. Colman's Cathedral is the only Irish Catholic Victorian cathedral to preserve its interior fully intact and continue to hold religious service and often hosts recitals featuring choirs from all over the world. I'm back at the bus station right here and heading out to Killarney. So that's the bus that you'll be getting on. Now, I'm supposed to get on the 2 o'clock bus, but it's okay. I'm a few buses late, but getting somewhere than nowhere. So with that being said, see you on board, and let's hope this will be a fast and a smooth ride. Fingers crossed. There's frequent bus between Cork and Killarney with bus airing Route 40, and journey takes about an hour and a half. Now, one thing I like about Ireland, the bus system, is it has a dedicated bus lines, so it can actually get through the traffic pretty quickly. Killarney means Church of Sloanes, a small town in southwest Ireland on the Ring of Kerry Scenic Drive. Like many of the Irish towns, its roots trace back to a religious monastery settlement. The nearby Innisfallen Island founded in 640 by the St. Finian the Leaper, which was occupied for approximately 850 years. The town has been voted multiple times for being the Ireland's most tidiest and the cleanest. Moreover, famous for its 19th century buildings and its main attraction, Killarney National Park. But before I can do anything, I'm hungry. Let's check out the cheap eats here. No, I don't mean these delicious donuts. I mean real food, on a budget that is. Oh, I just arrived here in Killarney and I learned something really new. If you actually are hungry and like to eat here, bad news. All the food are overpriced and super expensive. So either you have to go to supermarkets and fuel up there with prepackaged food, or you better like Chinese food because that's the only thing I can find that's reasonably priced. And I ordered a dinner set. It's cost 11 euros and I'm really excited what's in store. Spring rolls and chicken balls. I have a feeling it's rice. Oh, fried rice? Okay. Guys, I have to run in to grab a fork. I'll be right back. I definitely need that. And this is curry chicken. And also you got a pop. So for 11 euros, it's actually not bad. After eating, let's go for a walk and burn some calories. Unlike other Irish towns where everything closes at 5 p.m., Killarney is actually pretty special. The shops are open, streets are lively, and free concerts are everywhere late into the night. And most importantly, lots of beautiful and single Irish ladies you can practice pickup skills. So good luck. If that's not your interest, no worries. There's no doubt you're able to find something to entertain yourself with, even without the need to drink. Once again, if you need to clear out some skeleton in your closet and needed to confess any sins, no, You don't need to look far. The St. Mary's Cathedral is centrally located nearby the town center. Commissioned in 1840 by a local fundraising committee and designed by the renowned English architect Agassiz Wilby Perkin. Despite only half raised £800 at the time, it is said the architect have gained inspiration from the ruin of Erfurt Cathedral. The construction began in 1842, but was not continuous. The Great Famine and lack of available funds meant work was stopped several times. The cathedral was finally completed in 1855 and began regular worship. Separately, the spire and nave was completed in 1907 by the Irish architect Ashland and Colman of Dublin. In 1972 and 1973, the cathedral underwent a controversial renovation. The interior was both gutted and greatly damaged, as well incurred a cost of £278,500. The approach by the two architects was nothing short of radical, which resulted in none of the former interior remaining, apart from few small areas. Next morning, it's time to get a fresh start at the Garden of Eve. Well, not quite, some nature. By the way, God's magnificent creation is pretty big. Unless you are a Superman, you need a bike. On a bike today to go to the national park. It costs roughly about €15 or so for a bike hire. And by the way, make sure you go and get it from a bike that offer free helmets. I had to on the rush, so I couldn't do it. And on top of it, the reason I hide from this shop is because they offer baskets. So I'm right across from the cathedral, and yes, this is the entrance of the national park, so let's get going. The Killarney National Park is the first national park in Ireland. The creation began with a donated land to the Irish Free State in 1932 by the Senator Arthur Vincent and his parent-in-law, Mr. and Mrs. William Bauer Burns, in the memory of Senator's late wife Mal. The park has since been substantially expanded, and today it encompasses over 103 square kilometers of diverse ecology, including Lake of Killarney, oak, and young woodland of international importance, and mountain peaks. Our first stop is a 15th century tower house. So behind me is actually the Rock of Cashel, home to the McDougalls and built in the 15th century. It's actually free to wander outside. I don't mind paying €3 to get inside, but it has to be part of a guided tour, and I just don't have time for that. So still, let's go and take a look what it has to offer externally. I'm sure we can find beauties in that. Ross Castle sat on the edge of Killarney's lower lake and came into the hand of Brown, who became an Earl of Cashmere. The family owns an extensive portion of the land that are now part of Killarney National Park. The legend has it that Old Dougal still exists in a deep somewhere under the water of a long lake. On the morning of May, every 7 years, he raced from the lake to on his magnificent white horse and circle around the lake. Anyone catching a glimpse of him is said to assure of good fortune for the rest of their lives. So, make sure to buy some lotteries if you see him. During the Irish Confederate War, the castle was among the last to surrender to Oliver Cromwell's Roundhead. The castle is a typical stronghold of Irish shift train built during the Middle Ages. The structure is constructed of stack and mortar stone with thick walls and provides 5 inner stories plus the roof. The tower has a square Byzantine on the diagonal opposite corner and a thick wall end. I need to fuel up first, I'm hungry! Another major attraction within the national park is Muckross Abbey. So let's get going. Actually, let's keep riding and make sure to enjoy the beautiful sceneries. So one mile that way, should be be too much longer. That being said, let's go and take a look. The Muckross Abbey was founded in 1448 as a Franciscan monastery in a modern Irish graveyard. In the 17th and the 18th century, it became a burial place for many prominent Kerry County poets. Although the graveyard is in a poor state of repair, but is still used today as an active burial ground. These walls has witnessed many violence in its existence and often subject to raids by the marauding groups and was prosecuted by the infamous coalition forces under Lord Lowell. The structure had been damaged and reconstructed many times. Eventually, the monks of Muckross Abbey were driven out in 1650s by the coalition forces under the order of Queen Elizabeth I. Today, the abbey is largely roofless, although apart from this, it is generally well preserved. Muckross holds a special place, as it is the only one where the upper floor of the two of the three domestic ranges are accessible to visitors, offering more complete experience of the building where the friars worked, ate, and slept 500 years ago. So everyone, please watch your head. Its most striking feature is the central courtyard, which contains a large yarn tree and is surrounded by vaulted clusters. Is I have to do it. Oh my god! An Emmy for this! The weather was brutal. Yes, the rain just kept coming. On the upside, you're able to get a free shower while you're on your bike to the next attraction, killing two birds with one stone. It's this waterfall. Passing time, I didn't finish ESL, so I'm sure that's this waterfall. Fingers crossed. The Tork waterfall is approximately 7 kilometers from Killarney, easy to find and get to. So, no excuse. From the parking, there's a little hike approximately 200 kilometers to the waterfall. Just joking. After you park your bike, the waterfall is actually 200 meters away, so I'm really looking forward to it. The waterfall is approximately 20 meters high and is at its best after heavy rainfall, so I definitely came at the right time. Like other travel shows that tell you how amazing everything is and everything's so flawless, well, not with our show, because as you can see I wanted to stay longer at the waterfall, but the rain is just pouring, and honestly, carrying $15,000 without video equipment, I think I better not take that risk. Next morning, I started my day with a breakfast. You'll need it, even if you're on a budget, because it's going to be a very long day. But there's breakfast wraps available at supermarket for a few euros. Also, since we are going on a full day tour, let's grab something to go as well. So I got everything I need for the day. And by the way, before you get on the bus, finish your hot drinks. The full-day Dingle Peninsula and Slea Head bus tour operates from early April to end of October and begins at 10:30 a.m. Usually the pickup point is at the tour agency's office. There are many tour operators, typically costing around 20 to 25 euros, so bargain and bargain hard. So this is the official first stop over here at the Inch Beach. It's a very beautiful beach. Now, given the fact that I have all these equipments, I don't want to get sand over it, but we can go down and take a look through another way, and that is aerial shots. So let's check it out. The Inch Beach is one of the prettiest beaches bordered by two streams situated about 9 miles south of Milton. It's extremely popular with everyone, I mean everyone, from surfers to dog walkers. This beach has two halves. One side is sand backed by rushes and a small river, while others has an interesting rock formation jetting out into the bay backed by a small cliff and dunes.
Irish mummy.
This is actually the second stop right here. It's just a nice peninsula. You can get a really nice view of a different shade of green. It's actually pretty spectacular, and you can see some lake over there. I'm sure, I think that's Killarney Lake, but I'll ask the driver later.
What's the predator to the sheep? One predator if you want to go and see the beehive huts, he will. But that's entirely up to yourself.
After a short drive, we reach our vantage point for another round of spectacular scenery. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the spectacular scenery of the Irish coastlines. So this is a third stop. Wait, is it third stop? Stop. Oh wow, that's really cool. Very entertaining.
Yes, here we go. And those are the Skellig Islands out there.
Skellig Islands, he knows everything.
The Skellig Islands, where the monks went in the 9th century. And Star Wars was filmed from the big one of those islands, on Skellig Moher. Skellig Michael, the one on the right.
Wow, you know everything.
Well, I'm around long enough to know enough of things. And these are the Blasket Islands. I'll be telling you about them as we travel along.
Going down along here.
Oh dear, so we came at the right time.
Here's just a map, a point here. And I'll be hoping to get in here, but by the looks of things, this is still a tour. Yeah, we will stop here for a quick second.
Oh my god, look at this.
Yeah, we'll stop here for just a quick one because
The next stop is Ireland's most well-known and recognized landmark, and also a very scenic viewpoint, the Slea Head. It is the westernmost part of Dingle Peninsula, and also facing the northwest is Dunmore Head, the westernmost point of Ireland and Europe. From this viewpoint, you get to enjoy the dramatic view of Baskin-Robbins. Just joking. I mean, Basket Islands, an uninhabited group of islands, part of Kerry County.
well, if you wanted to come back, we'll say next Monday. And if there was a storm, well, you'll be staying in the island, into the land down there. One is from January to June.
Do we spend a lot of money on a lot of time on the flower?
No, these are wild. They just grow there. All these are wild flowers, just grow. Oh, we'll stop here for a picture. Now we are running a good bit behind time. So if we take about 5 minutes, this time now it's 5 minutes, okay?
We arrive at our last stop at a very cute and Irish village, one of the rare places where majority of the population speak the Irish language on daily basis. This is a tourist town with a host of amenities, including stunning walk trails, craft studios and workshops, a museum, shop, hotels, and cozy pub with crackling fires and great bar food. Seasonal attraction includes the award-winning museum and boat tours. But you are not going to have time for that since we are only going to be stopping for an hour, just enough for a quick bite. So this is actually the last part of the official tour. This town is mostly rely on tourism. It's about 71 kilometers away from Killarney. Now, one of the unexpected attractions here is a dolphin named Funky. There's an interesting story behind it. By the way, the real Funky actually do exist. You just have to pay for a boat to go and see him or her. And let me tell you a little bit about that. Funky is a male, common bottlenose dolphin who is known to live very close contact with humans in Dingle. According to the local, Funky was first seen in Dingle Harbour in 1983 and continues to seek out human contact over 30 years later. Known to interact playfully with the swimmer, surfer, kayaker, and diver in the water. So one of the things that this town's really famous for is the seafood, and their specialty is actually fish and chips. It's made out of cod, come right from the sea. But I'll be honest with you, I do not like deep fried food since I'm trying to lose weight. But if you're not afraid, give it a shot. Dingle is the only town in the peninsula that sits on the Atlantic coast, with a population of 2,200. The main industry in the town are tourism, fishing, and aquaculture. The town developed as a port following the Norman invasion of Ireland. By the 13th century, more goods were imported through Dingle than Lamrock, and by the 14th century, importing wine was a major business. So, cheers!
Anyone here that know us already? No?
On the way back, we are dropped off at another viewpoint. I really don't know what this viewpoint is. I'm actually fell asleep. It's very nice. Magnificent. Beautiful. At the end of the tour, I realized I need to shop for new shoes and head off to my next town or both. I'll leave the shopping for now to catch the bus. So I'm right back at the bus station right here in Killarney, and next stop we are heading off to is Lamrock. From there we're in transfer to Galway. There's no direct buses, sorry guys, so but we make the most out of it. I'm actually here at the Lamrock bus station / train station. They share the same facilities, and I have a little mishap. I booked the accommodations for Galway for tomorrow night, but not tonight. So basically, by the time I try to book it tonight, it's all full. The good thing about Ireland here is the transportation is fairly decent. Open bus tickets only valid on bus route, and the last bus already left. Anyway, so I had to suck up and pay for the train tickets and head over to the Dublin and get accommodation there, which is plenty. So the lesson here is always double check your itineraries and the transportation schedules. Hopefully I'll save you the pain. If you got extra few hours in between, you can also take a direct bus to Bunratty Castle, 30 minutes each way. This is a large 15th century tower house, and this castle is famous for its medieval banquet, offered since 1963. I just got off the train from Lamrock to the Lamrock Junction station. The reason you have to get off here is because you have to transfer the train over to Dublin, and you get off at the last stop. With that being said, I just really hope it's going to be here really soon because I'm very tired. I have to give Irish Rail some credit because the train is actually pretty clean and it has power outlets, and as well I can get some work done. There's Wi-Fi on board. You only allow 300 megabytes before they log you out, but I'm pretty sure you can like basically go back and sign up again. With that being said, let's hope this train get going again. Oh yeah, it's leaving again. This is one of the stops, by the way. With that being said, the total journey from Limerick to Dublin takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So once you get off on the train station, you have to get onto a platform outside here for the tram to take you to the city center. So that's what we're waiting for. Your tickets does include the journey to the city center, so you won't need to worry about paying another fare. There's also a bus connection direct from Herston Station to Galway. Yes, your ticket includes the price of a tram to the city center. But I'm going to chill out and relax in Dublin for the night. Next morning, I'm back at our familiar hangout, the bus station for a ride to Galway. So finally we have arrived here at the Galway bus station, and the ride from Dublin is roughly about 4 hours. It's pretty pleasant except for it is a little bit cold. So anyways, since we arrived, let's head over to accommodation for our subway and we can start our day. Galway is a county town located on the west coast of Ireland, a base for exploring the scenic surrounding county. First things on my list, pay John F. Kennedy a visit. Actually, no joke. This square is named after the former US president, or commonly known as Erie Square. The origin of the square comes from the medieval open space in front of the town gate, known as the Green. Since I'm hungry, let's eat here. Guess what? Supermarket is always the best way to go. Here you go, €2 for a meal for one, turkey and ham. And there's another one. Oh, I'm gonna be hungry. So. This is a really nice park. It's right in the middle of the city and right in front of the bus station. With that being said, let's eat and let's have this first. Sadly, they don't have microwave inside the supermarket, but it's fine. Honestly, I can survive eating cold meals. Hopefully I don't get food poisoning from this. It's not fresh. I'd say yeah. Just don't eat the vegetables, you'll be fine. Ham and mushrooms. So this is the pasta right here. And I don't know. I'm very skeptical about this one. I think it's just the smell of cheese. I think. I hope I'm right. But at the same time, just eating it cold. Okay. I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to eat. I don't think I will ever buy €2 meals again. After discovering that discounted grocery meals can lead to near-death experience, let's check out other smart options. One of the food options here in Galway is if you're really hungry and want to eat a lot without paying too much, then you can go to one of these Turkish buffets and you can eat as much as you want for less than €10, $9.50 to be exact. With that being said, bon appetit. So I'm back at the bus station. It's a new day and I hope for a new weather. Honestly, it's pretty brutal. So we're heading up to Cliffs of Moher on bus 350. And yes, your open road tickets cover that as well. coach actually drop you off roughly about 100 meters away. You just come right here and buy the tickets and head out. If you have a student ticket, bring it with you. You save €1. The Cliff of Moher is named from the old promontory fort called Moher or Mortar, which once stood at Hag's Head, the southernmost point, and topping over 1.5 million visitors annually, and a designated UNESCO Global Geopark. As you can see, everything is really congested here. Be very careful because the rain will stop and then will come and stop, will come. It's really unpredictable, and then the trail gets really muddy. So be very careful. Take your time and don't let the people in the back pressure you to move fast, because if you slip and fall here, there's no hospitals. The cliff coast runs about 14 kilometers, consists mainly of bed of Nambian shale and sandstone. The oldest rock being found at the bottom of the cliff, and is estimated being 313 and 326 million years old. Today, the cliffs are subject to erosion by wave actions, which undermine the base support, causing the cliff to collapse under its own weight. This process creates a variety of coastal landform characteristic of erosion coasts, such as sea cave, sea stack, and sea stump. The Cliff of Moher is definitely undoubtedly the most iconic landmark here in Ireland, and it's also the number one tourist attraction here. By the way, it is very windy. It's located on the most southwestern edge of the northern region of the Clare County. Now, the actual cliff actually rises up 120 meters from the Atlantic Ocean. If you're lucky, you're able to see many animals like feral goat, foxes, badgers, and Irish hares, along with various breeds of farm cattle. As well, there are a wide range of sea life can be seen, from grey seal through porpoises, dolphins, minke whales, and basking sharks, as well occasionally sunfish. There's also an important bird area with estimated 30,000 pair of birds living on the cliff during the peak, representing more than 20 species. They include Atlantic puffins, which live in large colonies at an isolated part of the cliff and on small Goat Island, and razorbills. So on this side, we're gonna hike up to one of the towers up there. And it is a little bit of a climb, but at least the stairs are well paved. It's all good, don't worry. Children, I think I should have one myself. The cliff reaches a maximum height of 214 meters just north of O'Brien's Tower. The tower itself is a very popular tourist attraction and built on the cliff in 1835 by the local landlord and Member of Parliament Sir Cornelius O'Brien as an observation tower for the English tourists who frequent the cliff at the time. It is said that initially it served as a tea house featuring a large round table with seats of ironwork. Another rumor suggests that O'Brien constructed the tower in order to impress women he was courting. On a clear day at top of the tower, visitors can see as far as the loop head at the southern tip of Clare and beyond to the mountain of Kerry. Your ticket also includes admission to a visitor center. The center consists of exhibitions showcase the history and the legend of the region, as well as the scientific information on the wildlife, weather, geology, and the landscape. public bus to drop you off at so right there, and the ferry is on that side, so that's what we are going to go and see what they have to offer. Maybe I'll get onto a ferry. It really depends. I hopped back on the bus and headed towards the nearby town of Dublin. It's a cute town with a scheduled ferry to the nearby Inishmore, the largest Aran island with a population of 840. The island is famous for its strong Irish culture, loyal to Irish language, and a wealth of pre-Christian and Christian ancient sites. But this is not my day. Given the limited ferry schedule, a visit usually requires you to stay overnight, the time I do not have. Added to the fact that weather is acting up again, I decided to escape another round of complimentary shower in a very Irish way. Wow, the weather is just really bad, so to escape by going to one of those Irish pubs, what I'm going to do is have a clam and chowder and a chicken sandwich together. It's 10-50 euros, not so bad. I mean, the reason I ordered clam and chowder is seafood. They can't screw up the seafood after all Ireland is surrounded by sea. Oh, that was actually pretty fast. I'm impressed. Let's see. Oh, I'm excited. Actually, I can taste the clam and chowder. It's actually pretty good. Let's try out the chicken sandwich. One thing they don't do here is actually grill the sandwich, which is fine. It's all good. It's all good. So actually we still have like half an hour to go before the bus leaves, and boy, I eat fast. I should really slow down. So there's a whole bunch of little...
Yes, I thought there was somebody in here.
Oh, yes. I thought it's a very cute, lovely bookstore. So, coming to the little cute store, they have arts and crafts, and as well, they also have paintings for sale. I really don't want to be late for the bus or be too early in the pouring rain, but it's really not my day. So I ended up committing to sin of trespassing in a hideout. I suspect another round of church confession ahead. So I'm actually inside a barn with some new friends, and hi! He's gonna be famous. The reason we're here is, if you can take a look, we are forcefully getting round after round of complimentary showers, and because our bus, oh wait, what time is it right now? 16:16, so our bus is like 45 minutes late, and yeah, I don't think any of us want to get wet for the wrong reason, so we can only cross our fingers. So I'm actually sitting inside the train station here at Galway, and the train station actually shares a bus terminal with Bus Iran. As you can see, it's raining really hard, and they don't have a bus shelter outside, so I'm going to relax here. I'm just really hoping, like, when I get to Belfast, the weather's going to cooperate, because I can't get anything done here. As you probably guessed it, I'm taking full advantage of my open road passes all the way to Belfast. The bad news, there's no direct connection to Northern Ireland. So here's how you do it. I am so smart. The ride to Dublin Airport takes about 4 hours on regular bus 20 and 3.5 on express bus X20. From the airport, you can continue to use your open road pass to transfer onto X1 bus operated by Bus Éireann to Belfast. The same route X1 is also operated by Ulster Bus, the Northern Ireland's partner of Bus Éireann, and luckily the driver of that bus honored my pass tonight, but don't count on it. From the airport to the Belfast Europa Bus Centre takes 2 hours. With that being said, welcome to Northern Ireland, or United Kingdom. So when you arrive here in Northern Ireland, you definitely need to get some money, because they use pounds here, but a lot of the shops will actually accept euros at very unfavorable rates, so don't do it. You get shortchanged. To get the best rate, go to an ATM and withdraw money via our customer global ATM alliances, which includes Bank of America, BNP BNP, Westpac, or Scotiabank, you can come to any of the Barclays ATM and withdraw fee-free. Now here's a little advice. All the ATM here will give you what you call the Northern Irish notes. These are also pounds. It's 1-to-1 to pound sterling issued by Bank of England. However, they are not accepted in the mainland at most places. The best thing to do is go inside, exchange it for pound sterling right away, and you can use the sterling anywhere here. With that being said, let's get our money and get going. The name Belfast is derived from Irish, the river mouth of the sandbar, the capital and the largest city of Northern Ireland and home to a population of 700,000 in its metropolitan area. The site of the Belfast has been occupied since the Bronze Age and has become a substantial settlement in the 17th century after being established as an English town by the Sir Arthur Chichester. Belfast was officially granted the city status by Queen Victoria in 1888 after influx of Scottish Presbyterian. Over time, the city grew into a major port and has become a major industrialized center, especially in the area of textile manufacturing. With that being said, let's get going. Getting around is pretty simple in Belfast. Most attraction is easily accessible on foot, or you can grab a TransLink Visitors Transit Pass for 1, 2, or 3 days. So one thing that's really nice about Northern Ireland is transportation here. Let's say if you buy a bus ticket going from Derry to Belfast, or if you buy a TransLink ticket from Dublin Airport to Belfast, that ticket's actually valid for the whole day. You can take any buses in Northern Ireland. I'm going to take advantage of the day pass by taking on bus 8D to go and see the Botanic Gardens, and I think it's going to be spectacular. So this is the Botanic Garden of Belfast, and it's a very lovely public garden that occupies 28 acres here, and it's very popular with the office workers and students and so on. After all, the Queen's University Belfast is only a block away as well. Right beside is the Ulster Museum, and the most popular structure here is the Palm House, and what it contains is lots of tropical plants as well as hanging baskets and da-da-da-da. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look. I'm excited, and I hope you are too. In response to public interest in horticulture and botany, the garden was established in 1828 by the Belfast Botanic and Horticultural Society. Originally known as Belfast Botanic Garden, the site contains exotic tree species and impressive plant collections from the Southern Hemisphere, many of which can be seen in the park. One of the symbolic buildings is the Palm House, designed by Charles Linden, one of the earliest examples of Carricka-Rede cast iron glass house. The initial wings began in 1839 and was completed in 1840 by Richard Turner of Dublin. The cool wing houses all year round display of color and scented plants. The Tropical Ravine is a huge red brick greenhouse later added and completed in 1887, but recently renovated while preserving many of its original Victorian features. Split over 2 levels with an open reception area on the ground floor, and has been made more energy efficient to retain heat, ensuring the plant in the ravine have the right environment to grow. The added ramp walkway on the second floor overlooks some 190 plant species housed in the temperature and tropical zones and kept humid, with notable plants include Japanese fiber banana trees dating from 1904, tree fern thought to be 150 years old, and a beautiful natal cycad. Many consider these 2 greenhouses symbolize Belfast's growing industrial might and prosperity in the Victorian era. my favorite part about this garden is the outdoor rose garden here, and you can absolutely find every single color that you can imagine in roses. And if you have a date, you should go and find one myself. You know what to do, and it's not going to even cost you anything. Just look around, make sure no one's around here. This is the most popular section of the Botanic Garden. There is endless rows and rows of numerous species of roses. They are not only pretty, but you'll be surrounded with a heavenly fragrance. This flower bed is filled with pink, blooming rose called shot silk. They are first bred in Northern Ireland nursery by Alexander Dixon II in 1924. The Botanic Garden shares a main entrance with the Ulster Museum, another one of the must-see and free attractions in the city. First established as Belfast Natural History Society in 1821 and began exhibition in 1833. It is the largest museum in Northern Ireland with 8,000 square meters of public display space, featuring rich collection of art, history, and natural sciences. On the first floor, the museum includes exhibitions featuring the history of Northern Ireland from the earliest time to the very recent past, including the history related to a conflict in Northern Ireland during the late 20th centuries. The nickname, the Trouble, the conflict left more than 3,500 people killed, was civilian account for majority of lives lost until the Good Friday Peace Agreement signed on 10th of April 1998. So this part of the museum covers the history of Irish people that arrived here 10,000 years ago, and that here is also called the Middle Stone Ages. As well, many of the priceless artifacts related to Irish archaeology and ethnographics. Objects in the museum include Malone Hoare of 19 polished Neolithic axe head, the important Downpatrick Hoare of Bronze Age gold jewelries, and the medieval coin in the Armagh City Hoare and Armagh Castle Street Hoare. The museum is also home to a famous mummy takabuti detailing how ancient Egyptians prepared for death, as they believed it was just another part of life. So, don't be scared of death. The scientific collection of the Ulster Museum contained the important sample of Irish birds, mammals, insects, marine invertebrates, flowering plants, algae and legends, as well as an archive of books and manuscripts related to Irish natural history. In the late 1980s and the early 90s, it has a permanent exhibition on dinosaurs, which have since been scaled back considerably. The geology exhibit showcased a collection of rocks, minerals, and even slices of large parasite meteorite found near the town of Sichin in Siberia. Now, to my surprise, it's also an arts museum, and it's pretty impressive. Let's have a look. An art art gallery was also added in 1890, initially called the Belfast Municipal Museum and Art Gallery. In 1929, it was moved to its present location, and today its collection features some of the finest Irish art found anywhere in the world. It includes scenes by Jack Butter Yeats, William Connor's depiction of working class in Belfast, and the vibrant and precise canvas of John Luke. Sir John's Lavely Grand and yet intimate paintings were significant gifts to the collection by the artist in 1929. Last but not least, on the top floor is the Gallery of Applied Arts. I don't even know what that means. The Gallery of Applied Arts include fashion and textile collection aimed to reflect the history of fashionable dress from as early as 18th century, as well as the contemporary international designer and high street fashion. It comprises approximately 5,000 objects including garment, accessories, historic and contemporary jewelries, and a collection of dolls and toys including pieces by Armand Marcel. Now this is actually really interesting. There's even a section dedicated to fashion. And despite my lack of fashion myself, I'm gonna brag, I'm actually wow, I was about to brag. I'm actually a runway director for New York Fashion Week, so I will see you there this September. The museum's policy is to collect clothing and accessories with an emphasis on acquiring pieces that are high design quality and or represent of significant changes in fashion history. The collection includes 18th century span-filled silk gowns, early century Parisian coutures, and contemporary international fashion. We are heading out to City Hall next. And same thing, make the most of your day pass. You can get there by bus 8B or 8C. It's a very short ride, it's roughly about 10 minutes. I briefly dropped outside the City Hall to take a quick look. Once the home of White Linen Hall, an important international linen exchange. If you got time and loves history, the City Hall offers free daily tour available on first come first served basis. I'm hungry. Now, if you really tight on a budget, you can try out traditional Irish sausage rolls. It only costs £1. It's made from ground pork, served as part of the appetizer, or sold in bakeries as a takeout food. You can also grab a fresh sandwich costing about £3. But if you really want to impress your date without breaking the bank, check out Tim Hortons across from the City Hall, my favorite coffee shop from across the Atlantic. So I'm always away, and whenever I have a chance to experience home, I'm always really happy. So here, I found a place, Tim Hortons. Oh my god, home away from home. Timbits. You can't go wrong with that. And also, my favorite, chocolate glaze donuts. After sweetening out myself with all that sugar, let's see if I can find a sweet British lady for a date. One place to search for the love of my life is the Belfast's best known landmark, Albert's Memorial Clock, or simply as Albert's Clock, erected between 1865 and 1869 in a Gothic style to commemorate Queen Victoria's consort, Prince Albert. The tower is 43 meters height, and sometimes the clock is described as Belfast's answer to Pisa's Leaning Tower. Its tilt caused by the fact that constructed on the reclaimed land on the far side river and weighs over 2,000 tons. I think the tower and myself should go on a diet to be on the safe side, huh? So the bus will drop you off roughly about 100 meters from that sign. It says Belfast Castle, and so we are on the right track. congratulations if you do manage to find a nice British lady. I call a great place to take your date to a higher level. In fact, it's high and romantic, but make sure you behave. No antisocial behavior, please. Let's get going. Yeah, we're not there. We're not there. Yeah, the gate is just right there. Located on the slope of Cave Hill Country Park, 400 meters above the sea level with an unobstructed view of the city of Belfast, the Belfast Castle has a long and colorful history. Original Belfast Castle sit within the city of Belfast itself in the 12th century. In 1611, Sir Arthur Chichester, Baron of Belfast, was not so smart. Replaced the old castle with one that's made from stone and timber and eventually got burned down. Yikes. That might bring back some bad memories. So rather than rebuilding on the same site, a new castle was rebuilt on the north of Belfast at the current site. The architecture was John Leon, who designed the new building in the then popular Scottish baronial style, where construction started in 1862 and completed in 1870. Today, the estate is home to a parkland and mature mix of woodlands and different species of wildlife, including long-eared owls, sparrowhawks, and many Belfast's rarest plants. One of the castle's most iconic features is a winding staircase at its entrance, whose grayish-brown color stand out against the blunt sienna stone and brick red details. Alright, after all the hike, we made it here. There's lots of benches in the courtyard for you to actually come and sit and enjoy the beautiful view of Belfast from here. It's pretty high up, but what I'm really interested is actually seeing inside the castle because I heard it's free. Sir Arthur's son-in-law, Lord Ashley, 8th Earl of Shaftesbury, paid for the reconstruction and later inherited the castle in 1884. The Shaftesbury family were not only the castle's resident and owner, but they were also generous donor to the city of Belfast and hosted events at their home. The 9th Earl even became Belfast mayor in 1907. The castle remained in private estate until the entire property was gifted to the city in January of 1934. Now this is one heck of a castle. It's really big. Since 1945, the castle is open to the public daily with a visitor center, antique shop, restaurant, and a playground. If you really want to impress your date, many of the rooms have been turned into public tea rooms or available to be reserved for private functions. Oh yeah, if you manage to seal the deal, you can tie the knot right here. After all, the castle has been a popular venue for weddings, so good luck. Good morning everyone. I wanted to go down to St. George's Market, but as you can see the weather is not cooperating, so my option right now is stay indoors by going to Titanic Belfast. The good thing about this Tim Hortons is it's located right in front of the bus stop for bus G2 Purple Bus that'll take you directly to the front of the Titanic Museum. So finally we are on the bus or tram G2, and this should be about a 6-minute ride to right in front of Titanic Museum. So behind me is the actual site where the Titanic was built at this harbor right here. In front of me actually is a museum dedicated to the Titanic. During the 19th century, the Belfast Harbour Commission improved the flow of Logan as well as expanded the shipyard, which resulted in a boom in the shipbuilding industry in Belfast. After immigrated to Canada as a child, the first English language film I ever seen is Titanic, a 1992 IMAX documentary about the exhibition crew searching for the wrecks of RMS Titanic. And that is the start of my lifelong fascination with this ship. So today I'm going to fulfill my childhood dream of visiting its birthplace. In 2005, plan was announced to build a museum dedicated to the Titanic to attract tourists to the area, with the aim of completing it by 2012 to mark the centenary of Titanic's maiden voyage in sinking. Titanic Belfast is a 12,000 square meter interactive museum located on the site of the former Harland and Wolff shipyard in the city's Titanic Quarter, where the RMS Titanic and RMS Olympia was built. I recommend you come early and take advantage of early bird tickets, plus it's less crowded, a bonus. Opened as scheduled to the public in 2012, the museum is occupied by a series of exhibits, galleries, virtual tours, and rides illustrating the story of the Titanic, which hit the iceberg and sunk during her maiden voyage in 1912, and her sister ship RMS Olympic and HMHS Botanic. The first gallery is named Boomtown Belfast. It recreates scenes from Belfast at the time of the Titanic's construction in 1909 to 1911. It illustrates the city's major industries before leading through the original set of gates from Harland and Wolff shipyard into the interactive floor presenting Titanic's construction plan along with the original drawings and the scale model of the ship. The shipyard section consists of a ride aboard a mini-car up the steel scaffolding standing 20 meters. Visitors to the top of the gantry where the scene of shipbuilding are displayed through audio and images, along with a 6-seater car which takes the visitor on a ride through a recreation of a shipyard which moves through a scale replica of Titanic's enormous rudder.
Then my brother's after me. He could prepared you for the size of the rudder. And you should be the largest passenger. I was there from the all had to fit into that gap.
Your tour also includes a ride here. It's very slow.
Every ship crossed the lake on their beach. I worked in the frame bending shop. You had heat. You had to bend them more than you needed because the frame straightened out. 4.5 tons. They were taller than the dad. The plates were overlapped on the edges, some were raised, and told me years ago. And threw it up to the catcher, and he... There were 2 of us on the other side of the plate to hold it up. We had to hammer the rivet so it filled the hole before it turned dull red. Down in that double bottom, you only L plates. You could hear it all. The strength of the ship. There's no straight line. The stern frame had to be strong enough to take the rudder turning in heavy seas. You'd have all these timbers and guy wax. I was torn between pride and fear.
The launch gallery portrays a scene from the spring day when the Titanic was launched into the Belfast lock, watched by 100,000 people. It overlooked the slipway which Titanic was launched, followed by a 4th gallery representing a large-scale model of Titanic to illustrate how the ship appeared to its passengers and crew, depicting all 3 classes of cabins. Right behind me is 3rd class. That's, I think, all I can afford for now, but will I find that rich English girl? I'll go for the 1st class right there. Equivalent to $130,000 today's money. Essential feature in the gallery represent a 360-degree computer-generated tour around the Titanic through all levels of the vessel, from the engine room to the dining salon and the bridges. In the fifth gallery, which depicts the ship's disastrous maiden voyage from the recreation of the ship's boat deck, visitors can walk through the wooden deck, sit on the benches, or look out at the view across the dock. The sixth gallery portrays the sinking of the Titanic with the background sound of Morse code SOS, message being sent to other ships. Images of the sinking are combined with audio of survivors telling their stories and illustration of the confused press reporting of the disaster.
Fearful that the hot water that came out from the boilers might boil me.
The aftermath of the sinking is documented in the seventh gallery, which is dominated by a full replica of one of the lifeboats used to evacuate the passenger from the ship. As well, American and British inquiry into the disaster are portrayed on either side of the lifeboat through videos and information panels.
That is incredible.
The last gallery presents the Titanic as she is now, 12,000 feet below the surface of North Atlantic. Interactive presentation features the discoverer of the wreck, Dr. Robert Baldr. The gallery illustrates his expedition to the ship through footages, audios, and images. Fish-eye view of the wreck is set under the glass floor.
Even here there's more of those rusticles.
So for those of you who don't want to pay for visiting the museum, you can just come up to this area. It's free of charge. You get to see a lot of the artifacts left behind from the design of Titanics and a few debris. It's actually pretty cool. I like it. Your Titanic Belfast ticket also includes admission to SS Nomadic, the only surviving White Star Line vessel in existence today. Its designer is Thomas Andrew, who also designed the RMS Titanic. Her purpose was to transfer passengers and mail to and from RMS Olympic and RMS Titanic. In 2018, after extensive restoration to the ship, it is converted to a museum, which both lower and upper deck passenger lounge and open deck areas on the bridge are open to visitors, including the first and second passenger areas. Internally, Nomadic was fitted to a similar standard as a liner Olympic and Titanic, which she was built to serve. As such, she had a lot more luxuries than other tenures of her day, with cushioned benches, tables, pork and water fountains, sex-specific bathrooms, and a buffet bar. She contained ornate decorative joinery and plasterwork, particularly in the first-class lounge of the ship. There's only one UNESCO site in Northern Ireland, so it's no-brainer we need to check that out. However, the question is tour or no tour? If you only want to see Giant's Causeway, then TransLink's Day Pass is the way to go. It gives you more flexibilities and you're able to spend a little bit more time on picking up the girls there. But make sure to check the return schedule. It's a hell of a long walk if you miss the bus. Another option is for a few pounds more. You get to take a day tour which takes you to a few more attractions. The tour lasts 7 to 10 hours. Given my feet is killing me, the tour option sounds a lot more appealing. So what's happening right now is I took a tour, it cost £20, and the bus will take directly up to the Giant Causeway. It's a full day tour. Our first stop is over here at the Carrickergus Castle. It's one of Northern Ireland's most important historical monuments. This was built in the 12th century. It has been under the state's care since 1928. It's very short, brief stop, so we are not going to go in because it's 20 minutes. We are allowed to be out here. The Carrickergus Castle is a Norman-style castle located at the shore of Belfast Lough. The core of the castle was built in 1177 by my dad. I mean Anglo-Norman knight John de Courcy. After he conquered the east of Ulster and ruled as a petty king until 1204, sadly, he had no Instagram friends and was ousted by another Norman adventurer, Hugh de Lacy. Over the centuries, the castle was besieged by the Scottish, Native Irish, English, and French. On various occasions during the 18th century, the castle was used to house a prisoner of war and become a prison and was heavily defended during the Napoleonic War, including the 6 guns on the East Battery remained that were used in 1811. During the World War I, it was used as a garrison and ordnance store. During the Second World War, it was once again used, this time as an air raid shelter. The castle plays an important military role until 1928, but remains one of the best preserved medieval structures in Northern Ireland.
Your left is also dedicated to but a bit misty out there today, bit up and I'll be able to point out the Victorians in those days would have been travelling up this road. Access, easier fun.
Our bus traveled on a scenic drive along the Causeway coastal route, renowned as one of the most scenic coastal drives in the world. There are many small British towns and villages along the route, and our stop brings us to one of them, and where you get 15 minutes of free time to wander around or grab a bite and use the toilet. So this is actually the second stop that we get off. It's a very picturesque town. It's I don't know the name, sorry. I will voice over that, but it's featured in some TV show called I don't know, Game of Stone, some shits like that. Excuse my language, but this is the village of Cartlow with a population of 2,200, located on the foot of Glencoe, the second of the 9 Valley of Atrium. Its harbour is the most notable landmark, originally built by the local landowner Phil Gibbons and extended by the Marchioness of Londonderry in the middle of the last century. This landmark has been featured in many movies, including the stony staircase leading down to the sea, filmed as part of the Free City of the Bravo Canal scene in the Game of Thrones. For those of you who loves hiking or nature or want to shed some pounds or all of above, good news, we are stopping near the small village of Ballatoy. There is a path leading to a famous rope bridge called Cathedral. While it's free to enter the area, the ticket is needed to cross a 20-meter bridge linking the mainland to a tiny island of Cathedral. Now as you can see, it's actually really nice here. There's a bit of a hike from the tour bus parking all the way to the bridge, so about give or take about 20 minutes walk or so. It is a nice walk along the coastal route here though, especially that island right there. That looks pretty nice. Well, I just hope my injured foot survived this hike. With that being said, let's keep going. I'm ready to conquer this. Sadly, the hike was too much for my foot and I couldn't make it to the bridge, but I can tell you over 500,000 people make it each year. It is thought that salmon fishermen have been building bridges to the island for over 350 years. Over the horizon off the coast, you'll see the sleepy sheep island known for its steepy cliff. Although the island is private, it is designated as a special protected area and an area of special scientific interest for being home to a particular species of cormorant birds known as Pelacorda Cobh.
Now that's not one of my badges.
Okay, next, another small village. There's no chicks in sight, but it does have a famous inventor, Henry George Ferguson, but I would call him Harry, who's an Irish-born British mechanic and inventor who is noted for his role for development of his modern-day trailer, and for being the first person in Ireland to build and fly his own airplane, and for developing the first four-wheel Formula 1 car, the Ferguson P99. Our driver said he needed a motivating drink to be a better driver. Irish whiskey to be exact. So our next stop, Old Bushmills Distillery, one of the oldest in the whole of Ireland, dating back to 1608. Okay, this is the next leg of the tour. They bring you to an Irish whiskey distillery, and no, it's not free. You have to pay for it. It's pretty okay, I guess. Like, I'm not a big drinker, so let's get going. To live a high life, you definitely need to pair up your drink with some fine dining, so our next stop solved this problem. The Dunluce Castle is now a ruin, built during the medieval period. The first castle on the site was built during the 13th centuries and the seat of the MacDougall clan. The castle is surrounded by extreme steep drop on either side, which may have been an important factor to the early Christians and Vikings who were drawn to this place where early Irish fort once stood. Now, if you wonder why it became a ruin, here it is. This is the another stop. It's just a quick photo stop of a castle called Dunluce Castle. It used to be a KFC joint in there, but no one's eating fried chickens anymore, and it fell into disrepair. I guess people are eating a lot more healthier diets, and that's what happens. But I heard that there's going to be a Burger King moving into that castle, so hopefully it won't get Okay, enough of this nonsense. Let's get back on track and head over to the final and the grand attraction for the day. Now, strangely enough, on its website, it says that you needed to book a ticket. But there's no ticket office in sight, or I've been asked for any proof of a ticket. The shuttle bus drops you off at the coach parking, and once you get in here, you have to hike all the way down there. It's roughly about 15 minutes hike. But because my leg's really getting bad, I'm going to go with a shuttle option. It costs £1 or 1.2 euros to get down there by the shuttle. The name Giant's Causeway comes from the legend of Fia MacConhill, a mythical hunter-warrior in Irish mythology. The popular folklore legend has that he was challenged to a fight by the Scottish giant Benadolor and was built the causeway as a stepping stone to Scotland, so he does not get his feet wet. However, it was then ripped up by the Bendover. The result was a Giant's Causeway. So this is the famous Giant Causeway. Is Northern Ireland's only United Nations World Heritage Site and ranked as the #1 natural wonders in the United Kingdom. For those of you who are scientifically minded or insist on an evidence-based approach, the Causeway is an area of 5 kilometers located at the sea coast at the edge of the Adrian Plateau. The site was formed between 50 to 60 million years ago during the Pliocene epoch, when the region was subject to intense volcanic activities. One theory points to the fact that molten lava from a massive eruption flowed into the sea. It cooled rapidly and shrank into some 40,000 large, perfectly shaped hexagons of basalts, although there are some with 4, 5, 7, or 8 sides. The area is also a haven for seabirds such as fumer, petrel, and cormorants. The Weatherwalk Formation also hosts numerous plant types, including sea splingworth, hare's foot trefoil, and a bunch of other plants I can't pronounce. Here we go. The reason I'm wearing sandals is because my foot injury, and also my shoes is really wet. Man, I have to rush because my bus leaves at 5:20. I know the driver will actually leave without me. The last leg of my journey gets a little political to the city of Derry, or officially Londonderry, a focal point for the nascent civil rights movement in Northern Ireland. Not surprisingly, the trip starts from the Belfast Europa bus terminal. It's basically the transportation hub for Northern Ireland. Here in Northern Ireland, when you buy a bus ticket, it's valid on all the buses and all the routes, including the local and the intercity buses. So it's my ticket right here. I'm heading over to Derry pretty soon, and I'm really excited to make the most out of this ticket. Hey, after all, I pay for it. It's £950. We have arrived here at the Derry bus terminal. The total trip takes roughly about 2 hours long. The first thing I'm going to do is head over to the hostel, drop off my stuff, and we can get started on our day. Derry is the second largest city in Northern Ireland with a population of 110,000. The name is an anglicization of the Old Irish name Dare, means oak grove. In 1613, the city was granted a lower charter by King James I and gained the London prefix to reflect the founding of its construction by the London Guilds. And as a result, Londonderry remained its legal name. Derry is renowned for its architecture, including the famous historic city wall at the core of the modern city, as well as many churches and forts. Most of the attractions are easily accessible by foot from the city center. That is where my accommodation sponsor, Hotel Cathedral, is located. They offer both private rooms and dorm beds, comfy area for socialization, a full kitchen with free basic breakfast, and I can't say enough great things about its friendly staff. Thanks, guys! So we're going to start our journey right here, right in front of the city wall. Oh dear. Right in front of the Guildhall Church. Oh man, no break from the weather. Let me continue. We'll start our journey from Guildhall Square, within the reach of the historic 400-year-old wall. The iconic Guildhall with City Hall is one of the city's most recognizable and arguably one of the most stunning landmarks. The building is the seat of the elected member of Derry and Strabane District Council in its council chamber. Built in 1890 and designed by the John Guy Ferguson and financed by the Honourable the Irish Society. The red sandstone building is a neo-Gothic architecture with Tudor overtone. During the Troubles, the Guildhall was focused on multiple terrorist attacks. The building was badly damaged by 2 bombs in 1972, but was restored at a cost of £1.7 million and was reopened in 1977. The Guildhall's most stunning feature is the collection of stained glass windows, donated by the London companies. They represent everything from fishmongers to musicians. There's 23 stained glass windows here, originally built by the Campbell brothers in 1912 in Belfast. However, what you see today is mostly replicas because the original was destroyed in the 1972 IRA bombing, or they call it the Bloody Sunday. In 1989, a new window was set up to commemorate the victims of the Bloody Sundays. Across the Guildhall Square is one of the stairwells of the 400-year-old city wall, commissioned by King James I and built by the Irish Society as defense for the early 17th century English and Scottish settlers from the Irish rebels besieging the city. Derry has the most complete circuit of historical walls in any town in Ireland, and this is it. It's rise up 8 meters high. It was built between 1613 to 1618. The wall, which are approximately 1.5 kilometers in circumference, form a walkway around the inner city and provide a unique promenade to view the layout of the original town, which is still preserved in the Renaissance-style street plan to this day. The 4 original gates in the walled city include Bishopsgate, Ferryquay Gate, Butcher Gate, and Shipquay Gate. 3 further gates were added: Magazine Gate, Castle Gate, and Newgate. The walled city also claimed the Europe's largest collection of canyons whose origin are known precisely. Many of them thundered in anger over 2 17th century sieges. In 2005, the surviving 24 canyon was restored, and under the expert supervision and often by hand. Craftsmen cleared the barrel of century of rubbish, strip off layer of paint and corrosion and bath, sponge and wax the canyon back to their former glory. The canyons are displayed throughout the city wall, with an impressive roaring mag located at the double bastion. There's many churches located within the walled city, including the St. Cobh's Cathedral, built in 1633 in the Planters Gothic style, with its stone coming from the local quarries and employ local skilled stone cutters and masons. The cathedral has many fine stained glass windows, regiments, flags, and a large collection of historic items at the time of the siege. Also within the wall and situated on the ground of the former ancient church from 1164, this is a little church, the St. Augustine's, established in 1872 and fondly known as the Wee Church on the Wall, set on the ground of Grand Parade of Derry's Wall. Now this city has a lot of magnificent grand cathedrals and churches and so on. But there's also some cute ones as well. This is the St. Augustine Church. It's actually really small, but it's very cute. So what's so interesting is during the siege, back in the 17th century, the term of the surrender within that cannonball landed on the ground of this church. Another church also located within the wall, I promise this is going to be the last one, is the first Derry Presbyterian Church. It's believed to be on the site of the earlier Presbyterian Church founded in 1690 and continued to be occupied by the present church. Adjoining the church is the refurbished Blue Coat School, now a visitor center telling the story of many ways in Presbyterian contributed to the development of Derry over the last 4 centuries. Less than 4 minutes away is the Bogside neighborhood, the site of the Battle of Bogside, what many believe to be the beginning of the Trouble, referring to a 3-decade bloody sectarian conflict between the nationalists, self-identified as Irish or Roman Catholic, and the Unionists, mainly self-identified as British or Protestant. The Catholic was discriminated under the Unionist government in Northern Ireland, both politically and economically. The extreme tension boiled over in the late 1960s, and rioting and battles with police occurred in Derry on semi-regular basis. On January the 5th, 1969, after a night of rioting and sustained police attacks, this was graffiti on a wall here. You are entering Free Derry. It's a very simple graffiti, but it became the symbol for the civil rights era here, as well as the international symbol for the police or the state injustice. When the British Home Secretary Jim Collingham visited Derry in August of 1969, the Free Derry wall was painted white, and "You are entering the Free Derry" sign was professionally repainted in black lettering. The area in front of the wall, known as Free Derry Corner by its inhabitants. Today, you can see the scene of the 1969 Battle of Bogshed and the Bloody Sunday in 1972 painted on the building of the surrounding street. After decades of sectarian conflict, Northern Ireland enjoyed relative peace in the present day, with many monuments being dedicated to the Good Friday Agreement and memorials to the victims of the violent past. One of them is the Peace Bridge, with a construction cost of £40 million, with the funding coming from the European Union, and opened on 25th of June 2001. The cycle and footbridge across the Foyle River is intended to improve relations between the largely nationalist city side on the west bank and with the largely unionist water side on the east bank by improving access between these two areas. The asymmetrical bridge is 235 meters long and 4 meters wide and is supported by 2 sloping pillars and symbolizes a coming together of 2 communities. The bridge is directly connected to Foyle Riverfront on the water side and providing crossing over the railway line approaching the waterside station and the stair to the Ebrington Square. The Ebrington Square is a 29-acre former Army parade ground and an Army heritage site, initially occupied by Jacobite forces during the Siege of Derry and subsequently developed as a 10-acre Start Fort in 1841. The site plays a significant role in both World Wars and was pivotal during the Battle of the Atlantic. At the start of the First World War, the barracks occupied the 1st Battalion Cheshire Regiment, who proceeded to front with the Expeditionary Forces. During the Second World War, the barrack was home to 2nd Battalion, the South Wales Borderer, and in the latter part of the war it became a naval base. The barrack is also being attacked numerous times, including during the Trouble when on 11th of January 1974, the official Irish Republican Army killed 2 civilians who worked as a contractor for the British Army after a bomb exploded under their car. Another instance happened on 14th of December 1993 when 2 soldiers was wounded by a tripwire bomb blast in a fence at a railway bordering the facility. On the same side of Foley River and next to the square, there's a 70-acre municipal park, the St. Cobh's Park, named after St. Cobh, who is the city's patron saint. The park contains ruins of medieval church, 18th century manor house, arena, tennis court, running track, children's play area, and a walled garden. Now, if you wonder what I ate all day, here it is. As expected, get ready for the most annoying self-checkout machine ever. Just listen to this.
Your journey begins now. Scan your first item. The power's in you.
The power's in me, so here you go. Come on, dude. £1.
Most placed item in the quantity needed to use the force.
But there's also burgers and fries everywhere. I'm skeptical on their Michelin star claims though. So there's a bus leaving from Derry to Belfast every single hour, and I think we're leaving actually. So if you're lucky enough, you get a double-decker bus like this one, and you get a nicer view from up above. But be quick, or else the front row seats will be fully occupied. Once again, the total journey takes about 2 hours to Belfast Europa bus terminal. From here, I took an express bus to Belfast Airport, leaving every 15 minutes, and the trip takes about 30 to 40 minutes. Here we are. Welcome to Belfast Airport. This is where we are going to fly out. I mean, Belfast International Airport. Someone's laughing at me actually. The Belfast Airport has a frequent scheduled flight to many major European cities, but I'm heading to the Isle of Man for filming of this little cute island. If you are flying out from Dublin Airport, the Belfast Europa bus terminal also have a frequent direct X1 bus to Dublin Airport. But for those of you who are not ready to leave and return to the Dublin city centre, including myself coming back from the Isle of Man to relax a bit, or to give another try on picking up Irish ladies before flying out, this is how you get to the airport. So there's 2 ways of getting to the Dublin airport from the city centre. First way is a lot easier. Express non-stop bus, which costs €7 and takes roughly about 40 minutes. The other way is more interesting. The bus 16 take you to the same place except for there's stops in between. It takes 1 hour, costing around €320. But given the fact that I like the public bus, I think it's more interesting. We'll go with that option. It's cheaper too. But I am not ending my trip without trying one of these Irish donuts. They are absolutely everywhere, I mean it, even at the airport. After getting my dose of sugar, it's time to board my flight back. And this is the end of my magnificent journey of the island of Ireland, the Emerald Isles. I come to Ireland in search of a magnificent sceneries and to appreciate its nature, to experience and feel its incredible Celtic culture, and getting lost in its history and learning about its past. I was able to fulfill my childhood dream of visiting the birthplace of Titanic and immerse in the legend behind the natural wonders. My favorite part of the journey is being surrounded with its warm people and learning about different perspectives, its past struggles, and the long road to the modern day peace through dialogue and compromise. A true shining example of what our humanity can do by coming together. I encourage you to visit the Emerald Isles to experience the soul of this mythic land and to find a piece of your own Celtic within. Slow net.